All right. So yeah, I was hoping to go through some kind of particle effects and stuff like that that you see in this title series. This is like the Isaac Asimov Foundation. It's an Apple TV show, I think. And then Imaginary Forces, I think, was the studio that put these titles together. If you Google it and everything, you should see it. But yeah, it's a pretty cool lighting, and then just the particles themselves look pretty cool. I was looking near the start. There's like one area here. I think I might need to reset my cache size here or something. It's too big. I tried to download the 4K thing. So yeah, I think right here on this shot, or the next one, or the previous one, the camera gets pretty close. We go up in exposure or whatever. You can see maybe some interesting shapes or stuff like that, or just the way that they're glimmering. Just overall, I think the way that the particles look for this look pretty cool. So yeah, we'll just be going over this just piece by piece, taking it slow, and should be fun. So I was just planning to start with the first shot, or the opening shot. That's a pretty interesting one. It's like this vortex type of thing. So we'll set up a little shot end, shot start, and this will be where we'll get started. Stasha, good to see you. Good to see everyone. Thanks for getting in here so quickly on such short notice. And you think I should get the A6? 7 left in stock. I have to do this Amazon.es. I think this is the only Amazon that I can deliver to me with out paying exuberant like shipping fees or whatever. Maybe you still get a good price, but yeah, I mean that's not the problem. I have plenty of GPUs that I took with me, and they're just in various drawers. But yeah, it was mainly just like motherboard or certain components like that I wasn't planning on having a hard time finding or whatever. But yeah, so Masawi, good to see you too. So yeah, we could get started here. And we'll just start to build out the start of this. I was looking at it a little bit beforehand, and it looks for sure like, so we have this depth of field effect going on that's pretty helpful to tell us like kind of how far in Z, or how far from the camera everything is. So we can see, I don't know, like a little bit more of the depth information. It's not just purely a two-dimensional like galaxy spiral or whatever. It's almost more of like a tube or something like that. So yeah, we just have this black kind of reflective orb or whatever, and things emitting from behind it. And then there's a weird sensation where it's like stuff here is almost stopping, slowing down quite a bit, and maybe up here things are almost like contracting back in. That was the one thing I was having the hardest time figuring out, because if you zoom in, this distance from this orb doesn't change, so it doesn't seem like the camera's moving. I'm guessing they could have composited this in or done something like that. But But yeah, so I'm guessing they did some distance masks or something like that, and maybe once these particles get close to the camera, then they kind of start closing in or something like that. But we'll just go ahead and start playing around with this and see what happens. All right, so I think I'm on this latest Houdini maybe. 589, it might be the latest production. And I think we can get started. So we'll just put a sphere in. Uh-oh. Okay. Got problems already. Yeah, I was doing some warping in that Vex Express. So I actually already started a stream folder and everything like this. Good to go. But yeah, it's somewhat similar to that with where we were doing Vex. Those were all fully procedural, like no simulation or no cache. So you definitely can have things perform pretty quickly that way, but you definitely lose, like, I don't know, some of the stuff you need to do to get to like the finishing touches and stuff like that. Like if you want to really art direct things and get like a good looking final simulation. Yeah, I'm recording it. Hopefully we'll be able to get it on YouTube. Yeah, the power function, you can kind of use that like a fake drag almost. It does a similar thing if you look at like the speed over time and all of that. To learn Vex, I mean, I don't think they had Vex in Houdini when I was learning Houdini. Like they had Vex, but it wasn't really the same way that we have it now. You had to compile Vex files. There were no wrangles. It was just VOPs. So I was originally learning other creative coding like software, like processing, and some other things like that. And I think that helped me get into Vex. Yeah, so Foundation 001, I don't know how far I'm going to get today, but I'm just hoping to cover like the start of this, and maybe we'll put together some more shots or move more into like compositing or lighting or shading or something like that later on. But this is just going to be the first part of it. I'll try to be more organized with. I know when I was doing that multi-part one that was like a tire burnout effect, got a little sloppy. Yeah, I'm still using Redshift. I haven't set it up on this computer. The name, if you just search Foundation and maybe Imaginary Forces, I also had the pure ref stuff. I think Foundation is the name of the TV show that this is the title sequence for, and Isaac Asimov was the author. Imaginary Forces, I believe, is the 3D studio, the agency or the studio that did all of these effects. But yeah, it'd be interesting to tackle a few different ones of these, because there's like different qualities of particles. Like some are more cloudy, some are more tendrily, or I don't know, smoke-like. Like this is more like a billowy smoke, and then this is more like a wispy kind of a quality or whatever. But yeah, should be good. Is the Discord a good place to get? Yeah, I think other people have popped into the Discord previous times and asked about like what the best. I don't think that there's a generic answer for everyone, or I mean, you could go to the Side Effects website if you want the generic answer, but the advantage of the Discord is usually people can jump in, and if you're more interested in getting into like visual effects or character animation or like simulation or just like different kind of routes or paths, people will give you a more tailored or like custom. They'll shaman you through the Sherpa you through the Houdini learning process. Okay, so I just squished this down. I think basically, like, if you want structure to your particles, the smaller you start with your source, the easier it will be to build structures. When I say structures, I just mean like detail or shape. So if you start with a really big sphere and add noise to it and stuff like that, it's going to be harder to like build definition and like sculpt shapes and forms and using noise. Yeah, I think I'm not super familiar with the games or real times approach. I've never done a ton of like those. It's more like sprite based or like baking down a lot of effects and stuff like that, and I don't have a ton of experience with that. Ruben G, thank you for the prime. Let's go. So I think as well, I was working on a rope tutorial that I finished recording. It ended up being like 2 hours or something like that, but I'll post that. So if you do subscribe with Amazon Prime or Twitch Prime or whatever, I did finish this up. So we go through the whole process here, building. I even build the displacement map in COPS, the compositing network. Monoroke 92, thank you for the prime. So yeah, if you just link your Twitch account to Discord, you'll get into the bonus feed channel, and I think probably tomorrow or later tonight, I'll have it all like chaptered up on YouTube and everything like that. So yeah, if you want to build structures like this, you probably want to reduce. Yeah, I was doing redshift for the rope. Todorotios. Thank you for the prime. Rasta Burger, how's it going? Yeah, it's been a while. It has been wild as well. Yeah, this was with Redshift, but it's basically hair system polygons with displacement map. And like, when I have time, I'm gonna try maybe some other renderers, Camera, or maybe even Mantra, and just see how they hold up. I think Redshift it's not the best for displacement. Like Octane, I think it does some really good stuff. Mantra was really good with displacement, but just kind of slow for the indirect illumination and all that stuff. So it's just up to, part of it's maybe your resources or whatever. So I'm just adjusting these settings here to try to build more detail and everything like that. So to see these shapes, they're kind of there, but we just don't have enough particles to kind of like reveal them. So if we increase the birth rate here, maybe it's too much, but this is what I mean by making the source, like squishing it down and everything. We'll go maybe into pixels, and you're basically concentrating your particles into the smallest like surface area or the smallest volume possible, and then it will be easier to build kind of detail and definition because you need less like particles per area or per unit. So if you spread them out, like starting with a tube or something really tall, you'll need to use a lot more particles or memory or whatever in the end. So that's what I mean with that. We already have, looks like we're creating maybe 1 million every 2 seconds. So definitely going to be wanting to optimize how many we have and all that. So yeah, that's a cool thing to test with. Sometimes adding this drag force can help kind of lock in some detail and keep things from moving around or drifting around too much. Maybe just kick that back. And the swirl size is the main thing that's like going to control the scale of your structures and all that. And you can try to visualize it with this guide, but depending on things, it might not be too helpful. If you have bigger swirl sizes, then it's a little bit more helpful, but for whatever reason, it's locked into this like default slice or grid, I think. So if you're trying to do really high frequency like noise, it just gets kind of lost in the grid or whatever. So we'll put that there, and the main thing we're gonna do, the man is back. The main thing we're gonna do here is a pop axis force, and this is gonna let us do a bit of the control, like this spin and all that stuff. So I'm playing this forward right now, and it looks like we're emitting them with like a counterclockwise type of rotation. No Genome, how's it going? Good to see you again. So yeah, we'll just put in, I think we can leave it as a sphere. Might want to make the height more, maybe the radius as well. And this stuff here always confuses me a little bit, like especially if you're using the torus mode instead of the sphere. But I think the sphere makes a little bit more sense. So orbit is basically just going to be spin. We can also, well, maybe we'll leave the wind on for right now. I actually don't know if Foundation is worth a watch. I haven't seen it. I think I've seen like 3 episodes of TV shows over the last year. So we'll maybe put this a little lower. So that's just purely doing, should be purely just doing this rotational. And then these other ones are a little bit different, so you can do lift. I think we'll try to do it like maybe that kind of motion. So lift is just one direction. I think if you have the torus, it will be more of the like cyclical rolling motion. And suction, I think we'll just pull it back into the middle. So I think when you're doing orbit, you kind of want a bit of suction to pull things back in, or to keep stuff in control. Try store. How's it going? So that's something you probably want a little bit of. And the lift, we could maybe start with something. Yeah, I'm planning to put it on, put this on YouTube. So I'm recording it right now. All right, so we have that. And then if we want to start visualizing stuff with like some lighting or something like that to get some depth, they do have the new like lit spheres mode you can do. So this was, I think they added it in Houdini 19. Before I was always just copying particle, like sphere primitives on, but I think this like is basically the same thing, but you can do it without as many nodes or whatever. So we'll put that there. Just gonna control click, make a camera. We could zero out some of this business. Maybe we wanted the rotation. This one should be -90. I think that's right. We'll just go into a wide screen. And then we can start putting maybe some lights in just to get a feel. I'm just gonna make regular Houdini lights right now. And then this will just help us evaluate like the shapes, the lighting of things a little bit. So I don't know how much we want to play around with the sizes. I think if we're blocking in like larger structures and stuff like that, we want to probably see them pretty big. And suction speed, I think maybe like we could put this negative if we want to blow stuff out more. And maybe if we're looking, maybe if we're looking at our reference again, they're doing like some remapping or changing of that element, if you know what I mean. Like at the start, it's really flying out. Maybe by the end, suction kicks in a little bit. So yeah, I think I'm gonna try to do this without moving the camera or animating it, just because if we zoom in here, this sphere is never changing, but I have a feeling this was kind of comped in, because it looks like they tried to have like reflections, but it's just fake, or it's just a static frame or something like that. But yeah, we'll just put it like that. And oh, that's what you're saying, I did move the camera. All right, we got it back. Okay. Yeah, I forget that. For whatever reason, I think that lock gets like default, it's placed on or something like that in Houdini 19. So if we go into this, we can use the Vex Expressions, and then the way this works, like you just hover over the parameter and then you can see the actual name. For this case, it's suction speed. And if I just set that equal to 0, like that, that's just going to override my existing amount. So we have disabled it with the Vex expression. But we can do maybe a little bit more. And if we do like f at age, we can read from the particle's age. And just over time, the suction speed will ramp up. So if we want to just quickly check that, we multiply it by a big number, and it's really pulling it into like a tendril or whatever. If we want to go negative, we can do that as well. Boom. So it gets pushed out of this. You have to be always careful of the radius, like influence or whatever. So the effects will always get tapered off right after you exit the guide shape. And I think I've been slowly updating this, but all of these particle attributes that I'm looking at, like age, I'm just pulling these in. I've been trying to update this here to make it more readable and stuff like that. And then there's some other sections I'm working on that I want to do more examples and stuff like that. But that's definitely a good thing to do if you're getting into the snippets with the Vex expressions or stuff like that. I'm just using the Apple, like one of the old Apple wired keyboards, Umer. I think we went over, someone was asking in the Discord like a week or 2 weeks ago or something like that. And a different brand has picked up like making them. But Apple stopped making the wired ones or whatever. But I think they're okay. They're like somewhat quiet. They're pretty cheap and durable and stuff. Hawaii. All right. So instead of just multiplying it like this, what we can do is use a fit function, and then we can dial this in a little bit better. So we could do, we want to fit the age maybe from 0 to 4 seconds, and we want to start blowing things outwards, so maybe -5, and then we want to end pulling stuff back in at 2. So if we look here, we should see more of like a parabola. I might have to dial this stuff in a little bit better. Do you use mass attribute? I don't like to use mass too much. I think if you use it here, you kind of like destroy the noise structures. If I completely random, like you might want to do like modulate mass from another noise, like spatial noise function. But if you purely like non-deterministically, or just like every particle gets a completely random mass, this will appear more blurry. So maybe if you're doing like a whitewater splash where you want the particles to like diffuse and blur outwards, that could be a good approach. But if you really want to preserve structures in your particles and stuff like that, I try not to use that many randoms overall, just because that kind of stuff is going to automatically kind of like blur or fuzz the shape of things, if that makes sense. The only thing I can think of, maybe like the way these are sparkling or twinkling, you can do that like random by ID and get like 10% of them or something. That could be handy, but other than that, I think we want to try to keep as much shape and structure and stuff like that in. Studio Not War, thank you. I saw the that post, the piece you did with the text that was looking pretty good. It was like the differential growth, funky 70s psychedelic style. So you can just evaluate that. Let's see. Oh, so like not getting the, sometimes the particle networks, like inside of DOPS, you don't get the actual lighting, so you can just pin the view at the outside of the DOP network if you want to make sure you keep the lighting. Okay. So I think we can push it out a little bit more, and we can keep the suction force back in a little less aggressive. So we're building something. Let me see if I can. Maybe we'll increase. See if we get in trouble with that much cache. Looks like we're okay. Try Store, thank you for the Prime. So we might be rotating too much, and I think we're also rotating the wrong way. So this one's definitely doing a counterclockwise helix kind of motion, and I think we're for sure doing too much. So just go negative, We'll cut that down. Aleph, not much. Good to see you too. And we also have the amazing. For some reason my shelves aren't saving. Scene share. So you should see. Bing, bing, bing. There it is. So you can pick up right there. This is like a checkpoint. If you have Houdini open, and maybe you missed some steps or something like that. So that's super useful as well if you want to get caught up or you joined late or anything like that. I'm going to get back into this network here. So I think we might want definitely more. Or maybe it's just pulling back in too quickly. Try that. Make the noise structures a little bit bigger. Vegan nuts. Good to see you. So we're gonna also probably be in a situation here where we're doing like what's usually called pre-roll, where you end up simulating a bunch of stuff and then you just cut in at a certain frame or something like that. So we're gonna need to do a big kind of like spin up or pre-roll. It's like before the camera actually starts filming, before the film roll starts like developing beginning your effect or whatever. So I think we're escaping certain areas a little bit. What a great surprise! Yes, I'm well. I'm in Europe now, so I'm on Western European time. I think that will be a little bit better, hopefully for more people. So I think when I was in California, it was almost too late if I was trying to do it like a stream at the end of the day or something like that. So hopefully if I do it right now, this is like, what do we have here? 8 p.m.? I don't know. I can't get the. Oh, here it is. T. Whoops. It's 7 p.m. I'm in Portugal, in Lisbon area. So. Yeah, I think we just needed to bring stuff back in a little bit more quickly. Yes, you guessed it. You guessed it properly. So we're going to try to pull things back in a little bit more quickly. Yeah, it's pretty nice. We've been getting more rain than usual. But other than that, it's definitely pretty nice. GeoGuessr. And then I think, like, the other issue here is that our pop wind keeps moving stuff around. And I think we don't want to do that. I think we want to just taper it off after like an initial, like ramp it off after an initial time period. So we have this amplitude amp. We could do maybe amp times equals. So we'll just modulate the existing setting or parameter. And we can use the age again. We'll say from maybe 0 to 1 second. And then when it's zero, when its age is 0, we want full amplitude, and 0 amplitude by the time it's 1 second in. So I think this is going to help us build these structures initially, and then we can just kind of rotate and like do more broad motions and things like that, and hopefully we can like quickly build in detail and then just evolve it more generally over time. I think our suction is still too high again. Pistiche de nada. There's something I was having here that's they were calling it like the chocolate salam de chocolate. It's like looks like you slice it. It's like a log and you slice it, but then it looks like you're eating salami or whatever. So could be pretty good. I think we might want hit it with more noise at the start. Maybe we could try bringing this pulse length down. So I just use these offsets here to try to get new random numbers or whatever. I'm gonna start to build out this scene a little bit more. We could build our black sphere. Maybe we'll just put it like that. So I think this rotation stuff as well, we might want to taper that down over time. Either that or we're still just going way too quick with it. Jonas J, thank you for continuing the tier 2 18-month streak. Thank you, I appreciate it. So, yeah, I think you can see we're kind of like destroying the structures here because our noise is too quick evolving. You're gonna go surfing in this air? It seems like that's the main reason people go there, right? Okay, we'll maybe turn the orbit down. Yeah, no, I hadn't officially. I just finished moving recently, and I'm still kind of like still waiting on the desk. I only have one monitor right now, so I'm still in somewhat of the process of moving. But yeah, I'm in Lisbon now in Portugal. So I think we want to increase the pulse length and reduce like how quickly this stuff is evolving. And then let's just start to dial this orbit stuff in. So we want to do a similar thing here with the orbit speed. And let's start at like -0.5 And we'll just end at like negative 0.1. I'm just going to set these back to 0 so it's more clear that we're not using them. On the same, you were doing the move a while back, right? Where you had to, I did a similar thing where I tried to use carry-on luggage for my computer parts. It didn't go, everything made the trip, but I just didn't bring enough parts, I think. So I'm going to increase the lift and start the orbit higher. Maybe adjust that range there. I think we're going to need this shape to be bigger if we want to actually fill like the camera frustum or camera view up with particles. So we'll just make that bigger as well. No, it wasn't for work. I'm still working, still contracting with Apple, doing similar stuff. So we have an interesting funnel stuff happening here. I think the suction speed things I'm doing is still too abrupt. Let's go maybe all the way up to like 5 seconds. So we get a bigger dispersion before it kicks back. Gaba, how's it going? I'm gonna make these guys smaller, and we'll go maybe back up to our lit view. Theodore Daly, thank you for the Prime. 13 months. So we're just getting like too much randomness maybe. The other thing we can do that might help us is if we switch to a tube or I'm sorry, torus. So this is more along the lines of what I was saying, where you start from like less volume overall. You can even just really push that. So if we concentrate all the particles we're creating in that, now we can see these definitions and shapes a lot better. We do have a little bit of this substepping issue where we're moving things too quick. They have this like jitter along velocity or whatever, light variance maybe, no, jitter birth time. I think we would just need maybe more substeps or something like that. Maybe switching it to negative. We're able to get it that way. So we can see a little bit better structures just switching from the emitter. So I feel like a lot of this project, even other parts, so much of the look and shape comes down to the emitter, and they're just emitting from portions or sections, and like how you release certain particles into the simulation. Like the forces are quite simple overall. It's very like directional. This opening one I feel like is the most complex one because it's doing like some expansion, contraction, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I think so much importance and priority or whatever needs to be spent trying different emitters or different emission patterns and things like that, because you could see earlier like just starting with the wrong emission thing, you can very quickly get led astray. Yes, yeah, this was your suggestion, right, Jonas? CG Nico, how's it going? So yeah, and then we're starting to get the more of a blossoming look here that's probably feeling a little bit better. First time on one of your streams. Yeah, it's maybe the first stream this year. But yeah, I'm hoping to get back, getting things set up here, but I'm hoping to get more into a regular routine. Chabby Snaps, how's it going, buddy? So yeah, I think this shape here, we're going to be able to not do maybe a ton of like crazy lighting, but just having that shape and three-dimensionality to things is going to help us a lot when we start doing lighting and stuff like that. So it's pretty cool. You can try increasing the turbulence here. If you want more fine detail and stuff like that. If you do too much, I think this is another thing that can make stuff too fuzzy. You can't really capture the noise like at that high of a frequency or fine of a detail. Sometimes if you do add substeps like this, you can retain more of the finer aspects of the noise itself. Like, I think I reduced the frequency there, but let's maybe go into back up to 5, and we could do it. See if this works. I didn't test it. I just brought the Python script to this computer. I don't know if it's gonna work. I think it's working. Vegan nuts. Thank you for the 22 months. Let's go. So sometimes you do need more substeps if you're really like doing intricate things with the noise, because basically this allows you to move particles more than once during a frame. So if you're trying to capture like super high frequency details with too low of substeps or just one substep, sometimes you can't capture it all. Yeah, I mean the Python stuff, Chappy, it's not super essential. I think there's even a lot of like people working professionally, many studios that don't know any Python, but just depends. I just use it to automate tasks that I don't want to do, like repetitive things. Like this is generating an MP4 file, things like that. So if I want to go back to older simulations, I'll have these files kind of locked into history or whatever. So it looks like we're starting to get some of that aspect here with the ones that slow down and like start to pull back in, but I might want to increase how quickly they're pulling back in. And I think we're in pretty good shape right now for how things are looking. But yeah, if I press escape right there, I'm just gonna go into my directory here. So I just have a, okay. So this will make a like MP4 file and a backup of the Houdini scene. So just if you want to keep track of your like iterations or progress, it's a good habit to either generate those manually or to do a script. Houdini-matic. I think they made me a master in the Houdini-matic. Yeah, I was I visited France a while ago and was talking to some of the people there. Okay. So things are, you always want to kind of check stuff from not the camera view to make sure you're still getting like the shape necessary and depth, especially if you're going to be using depth of field and all that. But I think we can get back into this stuff. Suction speed, I'm going to want to bring that up to pull stuff back in, and maybe do it later by 1 second. I don't think there's any new projects I can show at this point right now. I'm gonna tweak this suction or the orbit stuff as well. So make it faster and last longer. They're just trying to build in, some of this stuff isn't in the reference. I'm not really trying to match this like fully one-to-one, but just get something somewhat similar. Yeah, I have a, maybe this website is somewhat up to date. I have an older one as well, but this has some of the professional like films, VR, advertising, personal projects, collection of that kind of work, and stuff like that. So we're filling out the camera frame now, which is pretty good. Kim of to RG. I'm doing pretty good. I'm back. We're making some fun stuff. This might be too quick of a reverse suction. Let's go a bit down to 3. So yeah, I was telling people earlier, I don't know how many people are in here. What's going on? Oof, 63 people? You guys weren't supposed to have that many people in here. But yeah, I was telling people earlier, finish this tutorial as well, that's just a subscriber content or whatever, like, I think it's 2 hours or something like that, but it's a pretty cool one. Hoping to post it later today or tomorrow. But yeah, I'm hoping to get back now that I'm set up again with somewhat of a desk and computer. Thank you, Aleph Not Much. Yeah, it's starting to look interesting. I think maybe there's a few things we need to still factor in or add. I think we'll probably just get to the point where we'll dial in forces and shape for today, and then next stream we'll probably do some shading and lighting and stuff like that. But I think we're stopping the wind noise too early. Steve GH, big gifter, back at it again. Thank you so much. And Morgan DKS, thank you for the tier 1. So yeah, anyone who's gotten a gift sub as well, link your Twitch to Discord if you want to, and you'll have access to this tutorial, as well as all the other ones. There's a bonus section here of the Discord where I post the other tutorials and things like that with the links. So if you're a member of, if you're a subscriber, you can link your Twitch to your Discord account and get access to all of my other tutorials and master tier content and stuff like that. So yeah, I think we want this noise here. Maybe let it last 3 seconds. I don't have too many beginner tutorials. I mean, when I do a tutorial, I try to go through as much stuff as I can, like in a reasonable amount of time. So I'll try to cover quite a bit in terms of even just like composition, art direction, like what's going on in my head when I'm setting things up. But in the sense of like a Houdini 101 series or anything like that, I don't have anything like that right now. Yeah, the bonus feed stuff, it's the same stuff. So the most recent one I did was that caged inflation one. But yeah, I've just been, unfortunately, just due to busyness with work and then busy moving, everything was kind of on hold for a little bit. Yeah, I think 9 Between did the Houdini Isn't Scary series. And I think Rohan Dalby always had a good, I don't know how up to date his is, but his introduction just into the kind of concept of Houdini and like context and networking and things like that always seemed pretty helpful to me, pretty valuable. Let's move this light down a little bit. I feel like the shadowing, I don't know, it's not ideal, but hopefully we get the idea. I think we might be stretching the noise too much. We can decrease this pulse length if we don't want to stretch it as much. This is like how quickly it updates over time. So when you decrease this, you'll see less stretching and you'll see more like standalone kind of shapes or chunky shapes or whatever like that. In the later shots, it seems like that's really low setting, like it's almost like pasta strings coming out of stuff, but the more strings you see, that's like very slow emission, like noises happening on the emitter or different aspects like that. But if you want to see more compressed kind of shapes, this pulse length is pretty important. Yes, of course, Pon Katera. Glad to hear you enjoy it. So this stuff is, I think, starting to be pretty good. I usually like to keep these nodes here at a minimum. If you start whacking together too many things, you can kind of lose control of like what parameters or what aspects are contributing visually to what you're looking at. So I try to keep everything that I'm doing very like minimal. Get yourself in the Marie Kondo mindset. And I think this wind, maybe we'll just take it down to like 0.25, so we never completely kill it. There will always still be like an ambient slow this node, this network context to Sparks Joy. Pinkness Einhorn, thank you for the prime. But yeah, I mean, it's like, it's just going to be very frustrating when you have 20 different nodes and areas that you're adjusting settings in and stuff like that. But when you dial it down to just the essentials that are broadly, it's very easy. I think, especially when I was starting out, like thinking the more complex your network is and more complex things you're doing with nodes and tricky stuff is going to visually, but at the end of the day, it's just what kind of makes sense to you and what's easiest to keep track of. And like, if the art director or whatever comes back to you and says change this aspect, the capability or how quickly you can kind of make those changes without completely like reworking or destroying things or stuff like that. Triple X vibes. Thank you. Yeah, it's good to be back. So I think that we're in pretty good shape with the way things are looking here. I think maybe the lift speed is always going on. I don't know if we want to boost it over time. Hit it with the booster. Maybe we'll do that a little bit. So this is like, I don't know. I don't think it's really happening too much. I think the particles moving towards the camera, if anything, they're like slowing down over time. It's definitely pulling back in like that. I didn't try Redshift RT that much. It could be okay. I think Redshift in general for particles can be good. This stuff here, I don't know how much. You could do it with any renderer probably. It's like not a ton of really lighting, like scattering or things like that. It seems like it's just a lot of like constant shaders and stuff. But yes, I'm rethinking that. I think our lift speed being at 2 is good. Maybe we'll just do a flipbook. Yeah, I was doing a little bit of testing with the Karma stuff, but I want to get back to trying that stuff out again as well. So we'll make more particles, make them smaller, and we'll do a flipbook. We'll see where it gets us. It's like the reverse toilet flush. You just film if you're flushing your toilet for reference footage and just play it in reverse and you'll be all set. So yeah, I think, I don't know, I'm more biased to just having things spin in general. I think it lends to like more interesting shapes. So it's more like that Fibonacci. From a design sense, it's like just a more interesting form to look at, I think. And you end up with toilet flushes. So everything, I don't know, like a lot of magical effects, spells, or things like that. When you're spinning them just visually, it creates more interesting compositions and effects and everything like that. Spin to win is like the Warcraft movie. I did some shots on this, and there was this guy they called Gul'dan. There was like this life force or something that he was like pulling out of people. But that kind of stuff was like a magical, like additive effect, but just having it spin and then using the right kinds of noises and things like that helps you build like negative space or more structures and things in your simulation. Spin to win. Yeah, I think this was one of the shots I was working on. But having this stuff move quickly, like pull into his fingertips, and have interesting shapes and like not just be flat like lines with. That shot was one of the more painful ones. I was also like, I think that was 6 years ago or something. I was a lot less experienced just with effects work in general, I think, so it was definitely a more difficult shot for me. Unreal particle vertex animation. I've used Unreal doing vertex animation textures before, when I was at the Oculus Story Studio for the Dear Angelica. So all these curves were drawn like in VR, and then we animated them in Houdini, and the animation was carried over using vertex animation colors. I think we also experimented a little bit writing out like the velocity field as a texture or something and bringing it into Unreal, but we ended up just using the vertex animation textures. So I think this is starting to do what we want it to. It's still hard to evaluate the shapes. Let me try, let it kick off for a little bit, and then I'm just gonna use colors. I'm gonna set up some color ramps, and I think that will help just visualize some more information, because it's very hard to understand what's happening just with the viewport lighting. I think it doesn't really do self-shadowing very well. Like here at the start, when everything's clustered up, it can kind of do some self-shadowing, but once everything scatters out, I think it can't really do self-shadowing of the particles very easily, or it's just too scattered or too blurry. I think the Warcraft film was the hardest one I had to work on. I was still very young in my VFX career, and I just finished working at DreamWorks and was going from that to World of Warcraft. That was like, I'd never really done like a full live action film and ILM I think is more stringent, maybe. They expect a lot higher quality work, I guess, maybe more than DreamWorks. But they have more demanding clients with like Michael Bay or people like that. So the level of work they expect is a lot higher, I think, than some stuff that Pixar or DreamWorks does, where it's more internal, that their clients are their people reviewing it. I mean, there's still very good work that comes out of DreamWorks and Pixar, but I think just as a bar or like as a standard, it's depending on the film, like just even with Battleship, it was kind of like a garbage movie or whatever. Just because ILM worked on it, like the effects work and everything for it is insane. Like to do this quality of water effects that was I forget the year, it might have been 2014 or 2015 or something like that. Like just the quality is insane, just because they had so much expertise from like Transformers and Pirates of the Caribbean and all that stuff or whatever. But it's like a complete straight to DVD almost movie or whatever, in terms of like how well it performed at the box office. But yeah, I just because ILM is such a talented, like they expect like such a high quality. All right, so that's pretty good where it is for that flip book. Yeah, it's the best movie based off of a board game. Might be the only movie. Is Rihanna in any other movies? Or that was the only movie? It's Rihanna's only filmography. I think movies is, depending, if you're on a good movie, it's a really fun. There's definitely like bad roles or bad movies to be on, or if you're just doing like kind of like footprints or like dust effects, though for like 2 years, it's not a good time. So I like that aspect of commercials and stuff, that it switches up more quickly, and you have like new things to work on all the time. So we'll go ahead and just add our yeah, I think there was a Clue movie. I feel like there's some other ones, I don't know. So we'll start to modify this color, reusing Y position. I still have the cache. Really boosted this cache size, so be careful if you don't have a ton of memory. But yeah, we can do, maybe we'll do the green channel will be Y. We will just divide it by a little bit like that. And I'm just trying to more easily like visualize some of this stuff. So we'll do that. I don't know, we could do something else. It's the age. These are going to be a little bit different, but maybe different enough that it will add some interesting like variation. I don't know. We also have like velocity. Like speed. That's always kind of a classic one to visualize. It's looking a little muddy. Maybe we'll swizzle these things around a little bit. The Quadro. I used it, I was doing a lot of pyro sims with it early on. So having this much GPU memory definitely helps quite a bit. So anything you're doing with OpenCL can be pretty good. And then maybe just with Redshift, if you need scenes with a lot of like VRAM or whatever, can be good in that sense. But I think most of what I'm doing right now, except the GL viewport, isn't really using that card. All right, so this is a little bit, I don't know. It's not the same as this, but it's a little bit more like cosmic in some sense. So this will just help us visualize things a little bit more clearly. We could maybe also do like add to color. We'll do something. This is what I was talking about at the start with the random function. This is the one time we can use it. So we'll get a small portion of these particles. And basically if this condition is met, it will add 1 to them, or it will make them brighter. You can add higher values or something to them as well. So this is just going to twinkle a few of them. It's kind of subtle or whatever, but could be helpful just to visualize stuff. And yeah, if you guys want to get caught up, you can grab this new increment here. Should be where everything's at right now. I'll just do another flip book with the visualizations built in. Yeah, the sine wave stuff is pretty good. I was looking at this and like, there's definitely some twinkling, but it's only really the depth of field ones, at least in this shot. And I don't know, like, if it's more rotational, like they're tumbling, like you can also just do the orient over time or things like that. Maybe it is a slow sine wave. The color, just visualizing things properly, you can get the shot approved. But yeah, I don't know, there's weird stuff going on with the compression or like compositing or whatever. It almost looks like they did like a heat wave distortion or whatever. It might just be the compression. But yeah, I think just a low, slow like sine wave, you can definitely do that type of thing. As well, if you adjust the scale, like you can just make some of them constant emission particles and just modulate the scale over time and get another effect as well. But yeah, I think we're doing a better job building the structures here at the start and bringing stuff back in. So if we cut into the shot, can actually maybe even retime stuff and slow it down, but cut into the shot somewhere here. Something like that. Maybe we play around with the forces, but I think we're pretty close. Oof. So yeah, just really slow things down. See what happens. Spinning discs. Yeah, this flipping discs and stuff are pretty cool. I think one of the bigger advantages to that, if you do it depending on what renderer you're doing, but if you're doing subframe spinning, like for water droplets. Sometimes you need that kind of stuff if you want like the twinkle to change over a single frame's shutter. Flipping, like spinning disks based off of the actual transform or attribute, is a super useful way to do it. Because if you just try to modulate the attribute over like a single frame, that stuff, I don't think it motion blurs depending on what renderer you're using or whatever. Two emitters from the middle. I didn't do any. I did just one emitter and no volume. You can do a volume, but I think just for this one, procedural noise is all that's happening. Some of these other ones for sure. The one with the face for sure has a kind of volume, like velocity advection happening, I think. I mean, you might be able to get this just with procedural noises, but these bigger billowy shapes, I think for sure you want to use like pyrosim. I think I went into swap. Oof. All right, my Houdini crashed. So yeah, in general, it's a good thing we saved it. We got our checkpoint right here. All right. So yeah, in general, I think keeping like the amount of things that you need to create to produce the effect at a minimum is the way to go, like just in terms of tweakability or how controllable or how art directable it is. If you're doing a volume simulation that you need to tweak forces on, and then you're doing a particle simulation you're tweaking forces on, it's just, it can very quickly be like too much, it will make your brain freeze. It's like a stun lock, but just like my computer did. But yeah, I think like you definitely can do some stuff like that, but I think doing it with the least amount of shapes, like forces and nodes possible, is definitely the way to go if you can. So I think I'm gonna end the recording where we are right now. This is a pretty good checkpoint, maybe just for one session.